Welcome to Top 10 Archive. You know, despite what that 1,000 Ways to Die show says, staying alive really isn't that much of a task. For the most part, it boils down to not doing stupid things. Sure, there are some variables thrown in there that can ruin your day, but for a lot of us, it's not that tough. For those featured in the Darwin Awards, they just didn't have the wit to keep themselves alive, proving Darwin's theory of natural selection has merit. Number 10. The Roller Coaster Thrill Seeker. Nothing good can come from not heeding the warnings given before a ride on a roller coaster. They're fast-moving machines with all sorts of bars and pipes strategically placed to not impede on the riders. That is, of course, if the riders adhere to all regulations. This little gem comes from Richmond, Virginia, in August of 1999, when a student was killed on a roller coaster known as the Shockwave at Paramount Kings Dominion Amusement Park. Despite the safety harness, the young man thought it was wise to remove his restraints to be able to raise his hands in the air. The problem was, without restraints, gravity would surely take over around the loops. There's no surprise ending here, as that's exactly what happened. The victim was found dead from massive head trauma on a nearby catwalk. Number 9. Insurance fraud and death. November of 2009, Belgian police arrived on the scene of a crime that would initially seem to be road rage. A man, stabbed to death, lay on the road near what was presumed to be his burning car. As the events unfold, though, this turns out to be far stranger than an act of aggression on the road. The victim, Thierry B., had a grudge over insurance money he was never paid from 2 years prior when his restaurant burnt to the ground. Trying to trick the insurance companies, Thierry had the genius plan to set his car on fire and stab himself to make it look like an act of violence. Unfortunately, Thierry was no biology major, and as he started self-inflicting wounds, he cut an artery in his neck, causing him to bleed out. Number 8. The Bitter Divorcee. After a divorce that left him with little more than what was on his body, Uwe was forced to turn ownership of his house over to his now ex-wife. Enraged by the divorce and his wife's victory, Uwe sought to take matters into his own hands and leave her at least with an unpleasant burnt taste in her mouth. The 40-year-old German man entered his former home, drilled holes into an oil tank in the basement, and set the house ablaze. Unfortunately, the man left himself no time to escape the scorching fire and went down with the home. Number 7. The Avalanche. As Samuel L. Jackson once said, "You should see ice. It moves like it has a mind." In April of 2000, 43-year-old Walter of Fairbanks, Alaska, learned precisely what that means when he found himself on the wrong end of an avalanche. When using a snow machine to climb a snowy mountain, one should take care to follow warnings of avalanches, especially when warm weather had threatened to loosen up the hillside snow, and local organizers advised to stay off steeper slopes. Regardless, Walter took his loud machine and started heading for the mountains, his inevitable end coming when an avalanche of snow dislodged and buried him alive. Walter was found frozen under 4 feet of tightly packed snow. Number 6. A new kind of Russian roulette. The concept of Russian roulette is kind of a dumb one to begin with, but imagine swapping out a handgun with an unexploded anti-tank mine. Despite being over 25 years old, mines, if not deactivated properly, can still prove to be explosive, a fact that 3 friends discovered one night in March of 1999 in Phnom Penh, Cambodia. Under the influence of alcohol and their own stupidity, the 3 men used the mine to play Russian roulette in a public bar. Once fellow patrons figured out what they were up to, the bar emptied out quick. This story ends exactly as you would expect, with one too many stomps on the mine causing it to detonate, destroying the bar and completely obliterating the 3 friends. Number 5. 6 lives for a chicken? This story is a little sad, considering lives were lost trying to save one simple chicken stuck in a well. How the poultry wound up in the well is unknown, but it can be accounted that 6 different people went into the well to try and save the lone hen. First, an 18-year-old farmer went into the 60-foot well, succumbing to a powerful undercurrent that got the best of him. The farmer's sister and 2 brothers, said not to be avid swimmers, followed one by one, also being pulled under by the undercurrent. Thinking they could right the situation, 2 elderly farmers came to help, only to succumb to the same fate. The irony of the situation, of course, the chicken made it out alive. Number 4, a tiger's dinner. Chalk these deaths up to another selection of people just not following the rules of common sense. 2 German tourists were spending an awe-filled day in a wild game park in Alicante, Spain. Throughout the park, which visitors remain in their vehicles to experience, signs are posted warning passers-by to leave all windows and doors closed. So, what does our miraculous duo do when they reach the Tiger Grotto? They leave the safety of their vehicle and lock the doors behind them. They quickly become a meal for 3 Bengal tigers nearby, being found later completely disemboweled. Number 3, tempting the cobra. When your last words are, "I'm a man, I can handle it," you're not doing much to prove you're the fittest to survive. Roger Cruteau of Pennsylvania let his friend Wayne Roth play with his pet cobra when the snake recoiled and bit him. Unlike any sane individual just bitten by a rather venomous snake, Roth refused to go to a hospital for anti-venom. Instead, he went to a bar to brag about his newfound manhood. His bragging lasted only a few hours until the slow-acting toxin, known to attack the central nervous system, kicked in and ceased Roth's major bodily functions. Number 2, fire and gunpowder don't make good bedfellows. Some things just don't mix. Oil and water, ammonia and bleach, stupidity and combustibles. Going along with that third one, we also have an open flame and gunpowder. An Indiana man, Gregory, was in the process of cleaning his .54 caliber when he made one fatal mistake. While trying to see down the barrel of his gun, which hadn't been firing properly, Gregory used a cigarette lighter as a light source. For anyone familiar with gunpowder, the ending to this tale should be no surprise. The gun fired in Gregory's face, and taking away Gregory's ability to procreate indefinitely. Number 1, man versus locomotive. It all started with an SUV getting stuck on railroad tracks. Gerard and his Porsche Cayenne got stuck between the safety bars due to Gerard's poor judgment. But that isn't the worst part of the driver's demise. Hoping to save his precious vehicle, Gerard leapt from his vehicle and started running towards the train, flailing his arms in hopes he could stop the speeding locomotive. What Gerard didn't anticipate is that trains don't stop on a dime. In the battle of man versus train, train always wins. Like these top 10 videos? Subscribe by clicking the annotation here and give our video a like. And share the link for this video with all your friends on your favorite social media sites. Have an idea for a future top 10? Leave a comment in the section below.